watching Seattle, do you have appropriate fear for the Seattle Seahawks from a Niners perspective this week? Or are they toast?
Yeah, I mean, I do think
both possible.
I expect it to be a closer game. I mean, last night technically was a closer game, partly because Washington couldn't score. But if you're going to make the playoffs, when you get a team, think about like the jungle. And I watch a lot of jungle YouTubes and I follow a lot of jungle like Instagram accounts. When there is like a limping gazelle, when there is an injured animal around the water, the predators lick their lips and they go eat dinner. And listen, Minnesota was hard, right? They had a bunch of good players. It's just going to be the Rams a couple weeks ago was going to be hard. This is you have a gazelle, and really one of the faster gazelles for the last decade. As if the Seattle's a gazelle, they are limping right now, and at any moment they could hit the Jets and get a little bit the power. But you have to attack their neck and kill them and eat them. You cannot lose this game. It would be hard, and I understand you're missing Deebo Samuel, and I understand you're missing Fred Warner, but you have been on the opposite side of this several times with Seattle, and you've played them tight. Remember, they beat them the year to get Bosa, and I was furious. I'm like, I can't believe it, and it ended up working out because the football gods maybe rewarded them. But you just have to find a way to win this game. Luckily, this is not college football. There's no point differential. There's no scoreboard. There's only 4 teams in the playoffs. You could win this game 9-7 and just get out of there, come home, right? But you have to win this game. Like I cannot you just can't lose this game to a 3-8 Seattle team. And I understand it's on the road, and I do think the 12s are going to be a little rattled. It's not the fervor, just not going to be there. It's human nature. But you gotta fucking win this game, guy. Now, Cincinnati, I would not say the same thing. Like if you go into that week and they win. I think the Bengals, I don't know who they play this week, but because the Steelers play the Ravens. Regardless what their record is, that's a tough game. On the road, they're playing well. Joe Mixon's a stud. Burrow's a stud. Jamar Chase, they're just good. They've beat enough teams now. We've seen them kick the Ravens' ass. We've seen them kick the Steelers' ass. We've seen them kick the Raiders' ass. I'm not looking at the Bengals, especially playing them on the road. In a pretty big game, who knows? Maybe Nance and Romo call that. So let's assume the Bengals win this week against the Chargers. That is fucking. If you're 7-5, that's a hard game. You could easily lose it. Let's assume the Niners win and the Bengals win. Are the Bengals favored in that game? Is that a -3 Bengals?
Yes.
I do not look at the Bengal game like Seattle. They're limping. They're bleeding. They're the gazelle. You have to kill them. You just have to. Even Russell's chubby right now. He's got a weird finger. Pete, the whole thing. Jamal Adams celebrates when they're down 10. Jamal's got this way less accomplished Cam thing going. Jamal, I do appreciate your physicality as a lover of physicality in football, and I like players like you. But when your team is 3-7 and you're playing on Monday Night Football and you're kind of getting your ass kicked, and it's the third quarter, and you're celebrating just an open field tackle. It's at least Cam had won an MVP and been to Pro Bowls. You've kind of been a lifetime loser. I'm not anti-Jamal, but I'm also not really feeling him.
They're not feeling him, I'll tell you that. Because I keep seeing the Seattle people in my Twitter feed with these weak effort tackle plays on the goal line 2 weeks in a row.
I think that Kyle is going to isolate him and go after him to it. If Debo was around, they would try to get Debo on him.
Ayuk on him is not going to be ideal. Sherfield?
You're saying because Ayuk's little and he could kill him?
Yeah, just fat. No, I'm saying not ideal for Jamal just because of speed. Yeah. Kittle? I mean, can you run with Kittle?
No.
So, I mean, I don't know that there's...
Now, if you're Russell, my game plan would be if I was Shane Waldron, as two guys that if they came to Ham and said, how do we attack the Niners? I'd be like, well, pretty easy. That little guy, number 16, and that other enormous guy, I don't even know what number. Oh, he's 14. I would take 16 and I would take 14. And I would have them run straight at full speed. And I would tell Russ, take 3 or 5 steps, depending on whatever you're comfortable, and just throw it deep. Every fucking play. Because I'll promise you these guys cannot cover you. And you will get PIs when they are covered. If they don't take 10 go route shots, I think they are doing themselves a disservice. The Niners better pray that they don't do that. And their route to Lockett is the deep crosser. Like, that's his go-to. Mm-hmm. I would say, hey,
DK
don't
just running free 20 yards down the field over the middle.
I would say, yeah, don't even waste that angle. Just go straight. Just go. How is Josh Norman covering either one of those guys? He's not.
By holding?
Listen, I get, like, it's a tougher job for the beat guys. They're around those guys a lot. And not even, not like the players care, but the administration and the coaching staff. And so Mayoko and these guys making a conscious effort to be like, Josh Norman leads the league in forced fumbles. Like, yeah, guys, we understand he can punch the ball out. He can't cover anybody. He's not playing linebacker.
I do have to give him credit, though. That's not nothing.
Well, he's a great puncher of the ball.
They've created turnovers, and that's
his skill.
They've needed him.
But he creates punches of the ball when you run it.
Yeah, or after somebody has caught it. I guess even then, that's not normally where they come in, huh? Unless it's like a screen play or something.
Yeah, because he's coming down on you. So it's you. To me, most of them runs or passes to people that he had nothing to do with. But I get it's a real stat, but it's also...
Well, look, I talked about him like he was not bringing anything to the table after that penalty he got against Arizona. He has been bringing something to the table. We got to admit that.
He's got a good punch.
I think the Niners aren't going to end the Seattle Seahawks season, right? They're not ending the dynasty if they beat them this week. That's
their season kind of ended last night.
Season kind of, yeah, I agree. And the dynasty, this thing has been cooking for a while. Again, Russ's agent put out teams publicly with his name on it that he would go to. So this thing's been on its way.
Is it a dynasty when you only win one championship?
Whatever. Probably not.
It was an incredible run.
But I do think the one thing Seahawks fans have seen the Seahawks struggle on the road against that game they played on Monday Night Football. The Seahawks have played multiple times in the last 10 years.
Guy, they were playing that in their Super Bowl years.
Yeah, they play. What they don't do is look like shit against the Niners. Like, if the Niners kick their ass, again, they're 3-8 or 3-9?
3-8.
3-8. That's jarring in and of itself. But if somehow the Niners work them the way that they've worked like the Rams before, that I think is going to feel like a whole other thing to everybody.
If they lose by multiple touchdowns.
Yeah, if it's like jarring. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying that's going to feel different than any of these other games. Seattle beat them the last time they played. This year.
The Niners were kicking their ass in that game, remember?
Yeah.
But the scoreboard didn't reflect it, and then Cannon muffs a kickoff and then fumbles, and then it just snowballed quick. And I think, did Trey come in the second half of that game? Yeah. And then he threw a pick.
Because Jimmy got hurt.
Seattle's 1-4 at home. Like, one thing that's just... Now, a couple of those games, Geno played. Definitely one of them Geno played because they played on a Sunday night game. But they are... God, they're just a shell. I mean, they've just been terrible all season. I mean, they lost a game. To me, the game they never lost that they lost this season, that even when I thought they were going to be good, that I knew something was off, was the Tennessee game. Because I remember watching it on my couch, red zone. They're up like 31-14. It's like, oh, Seattle's just kicking their ass. Then all of a sudden they're in overtime, and then they lose the game. That, to me, when they lost the Tennessee Titan game 33-30, that was one of the crazier things I've ever seen. Because that's when I was like, something is off here. Something is off. And then even the Niner game, they were off. They were not good. The Niners were outgaining them like 200-10, and somehow the score was 7-7. But it was just, they showed signs before he hurt his finger that they were fucked. And the Niners weren't good enough at the time to take advantage of it. It's way worse now. You're 3-7 or 3-8. The Niners caught a break. They play Monday Night Football across the country. So then it's weird because Russell, shaving points, quitting on him, like, he does just look weird.
To be clear, you said shaving points like it came from somewhere. That was just, I texted you Monday night, like, is Russ shaving points? Because I'm just trying to figure out what the hell's going on, just so people don't think that was like a report from somewhere.
No, it was a Haberman thought. And I was like, yeah, I kind of agree. But then I was sort of like, is he shaving points, to keep a point spread down and try to get the under? Or is
and then they didn't get the 2 point, and they were 2 point. They got the push at the end, John.
Yeah, so it's hard to gauge them. It's one of the bigger. Actually, it is the biggest train wreck story in the NFL, huh? Just because they've been a consistent playoff team for a decade, and then his, like you said, it goes back to the summer when he did the trade request. It wasn't a trade request, but it was.
Put his name on it. No, like Schefter.
Pete just got a 5-year extension last year. So we're like, are they going to pay him $55 million to go away?
I don't see Pete going out with Russ. The more I think about it, if Russ is out, fine. But is Pete going out like this? 3 and fucking.
Where's he going to go though?
No, I'm saying he's staying in Seattle. Are we sure Pete's getting fired?
No, I'm not.
Who's more likely to be back next year in your mind in Seattle, Pete or Russ?
They're a little bit of just a hard thing to put a finger on. I don't really have a great feel. I just know it's really, really weird, and it's getting weirder by the game. It feels a lot like college. Sometimes it happens like, oh, this Edo thing is just coming to an end. It hits you fast. Unlike the Edo or college thing, sometimes there's like fire Clay Helton. Like Pete has so much equity, it's not going to happen like that. And with players, they have to get traded. They can't just go to transfer portal. But it feels like it's like at the end of the road, but they have to play out the string here in December. And I think we have, here's my prediction. I think we have a bombshell Sunday morning Schefter / rap sheet report in the next month, or Glazer, of just like, whoa. Like Russell has already let it be known that it's him or Pete. And even then, it's no guarantee that he doesn't want out. Or Pete is already cool with, like, you can buy me out as long as I get another, I don't know. I could just see we have a Sunday morning report on the Seattle situation that's going to be an eye-opener coming. And I would guess it happens before Christmas. Like, I don't see that happening, like, week 17. Like, that feels like week 14. That feels like...
Especially now that it's this bad.
You could argue that feels like they're 2 losses away from being 3-10 and being like, they don't have their pick.
I know.
They don't have their pick.
And there's not really a discussion about them. It's weird. I mean, there is, but there's not. It's bizarre. You know what I mean? Like, about, like, what's up with them?
Do you know
everyone's trying to figure it out, but there's no...
I always push back on, like, even if you're going to trade Jamal Adams, if you put him in the Khalil and Jalen, you only get picks back in the 20s for those guys. Because, like, Jalen, even the year they missed the playoffs, they went 9-7. Both Khalil Mack picks, even though the Bears weren't that good, they were never higher than, like, 18. It's like, you drafted Jamal Adams 6. How are you ever going to get that pick back? And Joe Douglas is going to be like, we got pick 4. It's
an upgrade.
That is rare, wouldn't you say? Because the guy that's drafting pick 4, or a team that ever thinks they're going to be drafting that high, is never usually cool making that trade.
Well, and when you make the trade, from their perspective, when you trade them away, you're the Seahawks. You're like, yeah, we hate pick 28 anyway. That's what we're going to have, so who cares?
What happened to the Dolphins last year, right? When they traded Laramie Tunsil. Or, I guess, no, it happened to the Texans. They traded for Laramie Tunsil, and then they sucked.
Right.
And then the Dolphins were like, whoa. And they didn't even draft Laramie Tunsil as high as they had to get to, because it was the 5th pick. But they actually got Laramie Tunsil at like 11 or 12 because of the mask. That's one of the greater transactions. This might top that transaction. The difference is most people go like, well, yeah, Laramie Tunsil ain't Trent Williams, but he's a good left tackle. Feels like Jamal Adams, like, would he even start on most teams?
Feels like he's part of the problem, not the solution for them.